Yes, my
Yeah,
bro. What's
oh,
going
how
on?
are you?
Yeah, not too bad, pal.
Good, good. How's your day been?
Yeah, man. I was just coaching the kids down at the park and that. They're getting a lot of one-on-one time with their dad at the moment, so they're lucky.
Sure. No, definitely. Cool. Well,
Yeah, man.
we'll get this one started. What I'll just get you to do is just give yourself a brief introduction on who you are and what you currently do, and then we'll get into this.
Yeah. Well, my name's Carlton Cole. Obviously, played for an array of top clubs in the Premier League. Um, Played for West Ham, Chelsea. I went on loan to Charlton. Went on loan to Wolves. Went on loan to Aston Villa. Um, Played for England under 19s to under 20s to under 21s to the full England team. Um, Went over to Persib Bandung in Indonesia to go and play for them over there, and that was a an experience. Went up to Celtic as well. Played for Celtic for 5 games. So yeah, I've got a wealth of experience, mate.
No, that's sick, bro. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's take it back to where it all started and kind of talk to us about how you first got into football and maybe what was your first sort of grassroots club, if you
Um.
remember.
Oh yeah, yeah. So my first grassroots club was a team called Walpole Wanderers in Ealing,
Okay.
and yeah, and we were like a very good side in the ends back in those days, and I scored bags of goals. I used to actually play centre midfield, and yeah, I had to see someone put Chiswick School up here, so I went Chiswick School as well, obviously, and yeah, that was an eye opener because I started playing for the school. Obviously, you started playing for the school, then you play for your borough if you're good enough, and then you play for your district and district to county, and
Yeah.
then you do it, and that's how you just go up the ladder. But I had an amazing time at that level. I was scoring bags of goals. I was just enjoying it. I was playing a centre midfield, and I was just doing my thing, man, learning the game.
Love that. And in terms of your first sort of pro club trial, do you remember kind of where that was and how that kind of happened?
Well, yeah. So I went. My first trial was actually I went to Brentford to go and play for. So I was actually on. I was doing a thing called Brentford in the community because that was the area I grew up, and it was just around the corner from my house. You had to pay £2 to get in and
Okay.
get coached by like a regional coach at that time, and then they selected me to go on trial for the academy. So back then it was this we called it the School of Excellence, Centre of Excellence.
Yeah.
So I went there for quite a while. Didn't really get told anything. I was there just training for like a good 8 weeks, and you gotta understand this was like training was at 7 o'clock. I had to ride all the way to Feltham, and I lived in Brentford, which was at that age I was about 12, 12, 13, and it was a long distance to get in, and it was like dark outside. So I committed a lot to it, but it didn't work out. No one said anything to me, and then I just stopped going. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Yeah, because they weren't saying nothing to me. So I was like, do you know what? Like, let me see if they notice if I don't come in no more. And they
Yeah.
didn't. So so I just carried on. So I just carried on playing for obviously my school, playing for my local team, Walpole Wanderers, and just trying to improve and just making sure that I get in somewhere. And then I got a trial at Chelsea. A guy called Bob Osborne, he lives in Isleworth. He was actually the Chelsea kit man for the first team for quite a while, and he saw me play and he just wanted to get me in on trial at West Chelsea at the time, and then got in at Chelsea. Wasn't playing sailing, but I got in at Chelsea in the end, and they gave me a scholarship.
Okay. So the age that you went in at Chelsea, what age was that? Just to so
Oh,
everyone.
so when I got into Chelsea, I was about 13, 14 at the time. And
And yeah, what was that kind of feeling like in terms of getting signed at Chelsea? I don't know if Chelsea back then was as big of an academy as they are currently, but
yeah.
obviously, how was that
Um,
feeling for you?
oh yeah, so look, Chelsea back then, getting in there was that they're the biggest club. They were the biggest club around the ends anywhere, innit? And probably one of the biggest clubs in London at the time. And they had was just about getting to that stage. Well, the first team were doing really well, getting all the foreign guys in. I think Ruud Gullit, all those sort of people was playing for the club at those times. So it was just great to be a part of that time. And you've got to understand as well, like there was players coming from like East London to get into the Chelsea academy. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So there was loads, like you weren't just vying for places in West London. You had to go out. It was everywhere. Even people from players from Ireland was coming over and
yeah.
getting into the Chelsea academy. So there was loads of competition. So I was quite fortunate to get in.
No, that's sick, bro. And in terms of growing up in that Chelsea academy, when you got to 16 and obviously got your scholarship, how was that feeling, and how was your scholarship years?
Um, well, when you get offered a scholarship, obviously you kind of know before they offer it to you because you're doing well at that time, and obviously I had no one at that time in my position that was in my way that was as good as me. But remember, as I said, I was playing centre midfield, and I would sometimes go up front. So I was playing both kind of positions at the time, so I was just learning my trade. And so when I first got that inkling that I was going to get a deal, I was obviously over the moon in it because you work so hard to get to that position, and not just that, the people that take you to training, like my manager from that team I was talking about, Walpole Wanderers, Richard Butler, he would take me to training, so he put a lot of time and effort into me to try and get to the level I did. Then obviously I had my uncle as well, and I always say like obviously you always get coached by like coaches, innit? When you go to football, you're always getting coached. But you got to understand there's a hidden coach as well, whether it be your mum, whether it be your uncle or your dad or your coach that from school or whatever. They're always in your ear telling you the right things to be humble and do all that sort of stuff. So you got to, I always give props to the hidden coaches. It's not just about the coach that you get in when you go into the academy. It's about the ones that you get away from football too.
No, absolutely. That's a very big point that you just made there. But
Mm,
yeah, in terms of scholarship years now, and you're coming to the end of that. What
yeah.
was it like when they offered you your pro, or did they offer you your pro contract as part of your scholarship? Because I know that happens for some people as well.
Yeah, so basically when I was getting offered a deal, they took me as a because there was back in the days there was a thing called Lily Shaw. So all the top players up and down the country went to a place called Lily Shaw, and it was basically the FA run program where players actually go to this like school, basically an academy, um, and you go in there, and then they basically it's like England. It's basically like playing for England, but you
Okay.
lived with each other for like 2 years, 3 years, and you study with each other, and you play football every day like a full-time job. And so I was actually classed as that sort of pupil that at that stage, I'm a scholar, but because the year that I was supposed to go, it got shut down. So
Okay.
people like Leon Knight, Joe Cole had gone before. Then you had obviously Jermaine Defoe was in there. So there was Neil Dines. There's loads of players that used to go there, but I didn't get selected to go because they was obviously shutting down. But I was already classed as that sort of level player, so I was
Okay.
gonna go. But what it was, I didn't go. So they just gave me the contract, my first contract, like on par with the players that actually did go. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was on that, so they put me on that level, and that's how I knew that I was looked after at Chelsea.
And again, obviously now it's a pro contract. How was
hmm
that? Was
hmm
that feeling of signing that one? Because that's the big one. That's the one that everyone kind of
Uh,
watched.
all right, so obviously, like the pro contract, you get the pro contract on your 17th birthday. Um, so you're not allowed to be a pro until you turn, or is it 16? I can't remember now. Back then, I think it was 17. You could be a pro. So I was already, I was already like on my way, and I was doing really well at that level. I was playing, so I was 16. I was playing for the under 19s at the time,
Okay.
so I was playing against big boys and that, and I was holding my own. So from 16s to 17, then to I got my pro contract, my first pro. Then 18, I was already in the first team. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So Yeah, so it was a quite a quick transition for me. So
Yeah,
from I got in when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, making the first team debut. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a four
yeah.
year
It's a
four year
quick 4
grind, man.
years. Nah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Cool. So when you're 18, 19, you're now with the first team. What
yeah.
was your kind of thinking? Was it stay at Chelsea, play some football, or try and play as much football here as I can, or was it go out on loan and get some experience?
No, because I just wanted to play at Chelsea, innit? Because once you break in, you just want to stay there. And I obviously had high hopes, and they had high hopes for me at the time. Before the money, this is like pre Abramovich days, by the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I was all so the so they was looking at me as a high prospect to come through and do well, and we was always like top five, top six in the first team at that time. And then I was really a part of that. And then I was actually obviously at that time I had Hasselbank in front of me, I had Ida Good Johnson, I had Zola, I had some big players. Mikel Forsell was there at the time, so there were some big players in front of me at the time. But I just knew that if I just grafted and just kept my head down and just get my and learn off these great players, I knew that I'd be something one day.
yeah. And like you said, you had all of those players in front of you. What was it like training with them? And did you pick up any tips? Did they give you any sort of advice on the
Yeah.
way?
Well, like you got different teachers, as I said. Like there's hidden coaches. There's hidden coaches in like players. So players, even if they're your age, if you're going at this person in training all the time, he's coming up against you all the time. He's coaching you at the same time because you're learning. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So what it is, like I used to get coached by, like, well, not coached, but just given tips by Zola. So Gianfranco Zola, obviously he's like world class. He was getting coached, but it's the same thing. He was training with Maradona, bro. Like, so
yeah,
I had to listen to what he had to say, and I just saw him, and he just led by example, and he was just such a model pro, and he was humble as well. That was the main thing. He was so humble. So I was just looking at this guy, I was thinking, this guy's a superstar, but you'd never know if you actually just sat down and chatted to him. And you just got to understand where these people at the elite level, you got to understand their personalities. And then I was just trying to learn that way. And
okay,
then obviously, you learn as well in training when you're seeing Ida Good Johnson, the way he used to trap a ball, man. He was just unreal. His footwork's crazy. And then you had Hasselbank will just get the ball, and he had no backlift when he had a shot, and then just fly into the net like it was just mad. And I couldn't. Obviously, everyone's got their own styles and techniques, but you just take little bits of each other's game, and you try and improve yourself every day. So
no,
I was lucky to be around and fortunate enough to be around these sort of world class players.
yeah, no, that's amazing, bro. And yeah, like
Yeah.
you said earlier, you ended up going on loan to Wolves. How did that sort of come about, and what were your
Oh,
kind
I'll
of
tell
what
you
was
what.
your experience like
So
going there?
yeah, so that was I'll tell you the truth, right? So I'm from Brentford. I used to be a little bit unruly, yeah. Um, so I would come into training and I would be late. And you gotta understand these times I'm in the first team, my first year, so I'm actually taking it for granted. When you're young, you're supposed to come in early, do what you gotta do early, and be ready early, yeah, to go out and train. I weren't doing that. You know what I mean? I was coming in like late, always had an excuse. So Ranieri, the gaffer at the time, he goes, "Listen, mate, you're taking the mick. Like you need to leave it. You need to go and get a lesson. So I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you in this ground no more." I was like, "Wow, really?" I thought he was joking. And I got a phone call from my agent at the time, and he said, "Listen, you gotta go because they're not happy with you, mate." I said, "Where am I going?" He's gone, "Oh, you're going up to Wolverhampton Wanderers." I'm like, "Where's that?" So I knew you got to understand, I'm only 18, 19 at the time. I'm thinking, wow, I've got to go all that way. I'm out of my comfort zone. I've never been away from home. I've never lived out of my house, lived away from my house before. I've never been in digs. So I don't know how to take this. So
Yeah,
anyway, I've gone up there, um, and they treated me really well, Wolves, and I had a good time up there because we had some class players up there at the time as well. So when I joined, um, there was Paul Ince there at the time. There
okay,
was was coming to the back end of their career. They've already had a Man United career. Dennis Irwin at the
yeah,
time. There's another guy called Mark Kennedy. I don't know if you remember him. He was an unbelievable player.
no,
And then there was Kenny Miller as well.
okay,
He had a great career. And then you had Nathan Blake. Then you had Georgian Dar. just the old school boys that actually took me under their wing. Jolie and Les Scott was there at the time, and that's when I first was got friendly with Jolie, and I'm still friends with him till this day. But yeah, so I did have a good experience. I scored on my debut as well. I can't even remember the goal, to be honest, but I scored. It was just all surreal. Do you know what I mean? When you look back, it's just all a big blur. But yeah, I had a good time
What
when I
what
went there.
what did that first loan kind of do for you off the pitch? Because obviously, like you said, you haven't been away from home and experienced that. So, kind of, what did it teach you off the pitch?
Um, it taught me how to grow up and be a man. And I'm like, obviously, I couldn't be late at because now I'm like one of the first teamers, like, and they've brought me in to make an impact. So
Yeah,
I knew, and my uncle was in my ear as well. It's like, listen, Cole, you could not mess this up, mate, because you remember you know where you're going, so you need to make sure you leave an impact here. Then you can come back home, and then you can just do what you needed to do. Luckily for me, at that time, I still didn't have it in my head that I wanted to stay there. But luckily, and they got promoted that year as well, Wolverhampton Wanderers, to be fair. So I was a part of that.
okay,
Um, so, but I only stayed 1 month there. Do you know what I mean? And what it was, stayed 1 month, but I got called back for Chelsea because I think Idiger Johnson got injured and they needed another striker in. So when
okay,
I got called back, I appreciated it so much because it was just different way of living. Like obviously in the Championship, it's totally different to playing in the Premier League, and then you saw in the Championship the way they used to structure everything. It wasn't like how it is now. Like even you'd have to wash your own kit,
yeah,
where now our kit gets washed. When I was at Chelsea, my kit got washed for me. All those little things that you didn't actually realize
yeah. You
was
start to
important
appreciate.
was that yeah, you took it for granted. Actually, when you went down, you had to pay for like your dinners, you had to pay like £3 for your lunch. I was like, what? You got to pay for lunch here too? Like, so I actually didn't realize at the time, but like then when I went back, I actually appreciated being at a Premier League club as big as Chelsea. And then when I first come, my first game back, I think it was playing against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, and I bagged the goal straight away. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, mate, I'm staying here now. Like, you lot can't get rid of me if you wanted to. I'll grow up now. I'll grow up. So that's the way I grew up, man.
Cool. So, being back at Chelsea again for the following season, obviously, I think you went out on loan to Charlton that year.
Yeah.
What was the kind of thinking behind that move?
So basically, obviously, this is the time when Roman Abramovich come in now. Yeah.
Okay.
So Roman Abramovich come in, and then obviously Ranieri, he had only a quick time turnover, and he had to bring something in because the Roman had spent a lot of money in that summer. So he's come in straight away, started spending dough. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there was just no chance for any sort of youth player to come in at that time. So I wouldn't know. My progress would have been it would have been stunted. You know what I mean? I wouldn't
Yeah.
have been able to play as many games as although I would have liked to stay, but they said in my progress they wanted me to play games, so I had to go. And then that's when Alan Kirbishley come in for me at the time, and he said, "Listen, I want you in my team. We've got Paolo Di Canio here. We've got Joe Hansen here. We had Sean Bartlett there as a striker, and Jason Ewell as well. And they just wanted me to be a part of that, be part of the first team, and try and play Premier League games as well. And that was, I think, it was the first year when you could loan a player from one Premier League club to another. I think they
Okay.
just brought that. Yeah, they just brought that rule in. So I came under that banner for the first year. So I done it, and the first yeah, sorry, I got
No,
injured a lot, and that was my problem. And because I was still growing at the time, so I didn't really get going. But I did score 5 goals over there, and Paolo Di Canio set up all 5 of them. To be honest, and he was a great player to play with, but he was a weird person.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
And yeah, like you said, so that season you stayed at Charlton, did what you could, and the following year you went on loan to Aston Villa, and
yeah.
talk us through that process. And was it again a case of because the money's being spent at Chelsea, you don't want to stunt your progression
All right,
to the
so
first?
yeah, so the year after that, I think the first team, Chelsea first team, they finished second that year, and it wasn't good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, because Abramovich wanted instant success because he came in, he's put his P's in. He wants to see some success in.
Yeah,
So he's got rid of Ranieri, begrudgingly probably, and he brought in Mourinho because Mourinho just won the European Cup, the Champions League, with Porto at the time. So he's obviously the hot property at the time, and then he's brought him in. There's money being thrown about. That's when Mourinho started to make his name, obviously. And I felt sorry for Ranieri because there's nothing he could have done. He only just missed out. He only just missed out on winning the league to Man U. Do you know what I mean? So he actually done all right. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? But obviously Mourinho is Mourinho. Brought himself. He brought, and he's bringing players in as well. So then he brought Drogba in, brought Shaw Wright Phillips in. He brought a load of players in, and
yeah,
even Joe Cole, Glenn Johnson, all these players came in. So there was a massive upheaval. And then I still wasn't a part of that because I was still kind of young to him. And he wanted a ready-made player. So there was going out spending ready-made players for ready-made players. So I wish I was a part of it, but I was not in their thoughts at that time.
yeah. So yeah, that season at Aston Villa, how do you think it kind of went for you? And again, what did you kind of take away from being there?
So when I was at Aston Villa, I just didn't want to go up north anyway. So what I was doing, I'd had a flat. They put me in a nice flat up there, at the mailbox, and I just couldn't adjust to the staying up there. I was always on the motor. So after training, I'll just bomb it down on the motorway, go straight to my mum's house, and
Yeah,
just chill out there, and then bomb up back in the morning to training. So I'm spending like in one day, I'm spending like 4, 5, 6 hours on the road just getting to and from training. So that's not good enough. You know what I mean? I didn't never, like I told you, anything apart above the Watford Gap on the motorway, I am not. I just get dizzy. I get a nosebleed. So let alone going up to play for a Midlands team or a Northern team, it just didn't sit right with me. So I was always on the way back home, and I just didn't settle in. And now when I look at hindsight, I should have just knuckled down and then just done my thing. But do you know what it was as well? I didn't, when I was younger, I didn't have to stay in digs. I was always at home. I didn't
yeah,
know how to stay away from home, so I just never was settled. I was all 19, 20 at this time, 21, and I should have been able to deal with it, but I just wasn't mature enough, man.
yeah. No. So yeah, that after that season, going back to Chelsea, I think that's when you kind of parted ways and moved to West Ham. What was the kind of thinking behind that? And did you think it was just time over at
Mm.
the club because you wasn't getting enough
No,
football?
no. So basically, like Chelsea actually did want me to stay,
Okay,
um, but because I'd had a taste of the Premier League and I played 2 years in a row now, I just knew. So I came back after that. I came back to Chelsea. Sorry, I came back, and Mourinho wanted me back, and he said, "Listen, you're going to stay with us this year, and and then I think eventually you're going to just watch what Drogba does. I want that's the sort of thing we had by then we had Drogba, we had Crespo, we had um, we had a few good players, but they were
yeah,
still in front of me. Like Drogba and Crespo were like that. It was either Drogba. If Drogba was down, it would be Crespo. Do you know what I mean? So it was really hard to get going at that stage as well. But at the same time, I was part of them, and I had a great experience that year. We won the league that year too. But at the end of the season, what it was, um, I felt that in myself that I was like, I'm coming up to 2022 now. I need games. I need to keep on playing regularly. And I wanted to get into the England team as well because I was already doing the England under 21 thing. So
yeah,
I was going away to England 21 and was doing really well. So I wanted to just go to the next level, but it just didn't work out that way. So I was actually going to go and sign one contract for West Ham, right? And then I got called back, and then he said, "Listen, I want you to go on loan." So Roman Abramovich called me back. By the way, it wasn't even the gaffer; it was
okay,
Abramovich. He says, "I want you to go to my club over in Spartak Moscow because he had money in that club over there. I want you to go on loan, and then you come back and we'll give you a new contract." And I was just thinking, nah, man, I ain't going to Russia, man. That's like as I said, I was too young. I can't even go past Watford Gap without getting a nosebleed. Man, you're telling me to go to Russia now? So it's not going to happen, mate. You know what I mean? So obviously the irons came in, and I was like, "Listen, can I just go there? This is what I want to do." Like, and he was like, "Okay, you can go." And then I said, "With your blessing," he goes, "With my blessing." And then that's how I parted ways with Chelsea. So that's how I ended up at West Ham.
Okay, yeah, no, it's always good to leave somewhere on good terms. So you
Yeah.
definitely done that. But
Mm.
yeah, in terms of West Ham now, obviously that was when you obviously stayed there for the majority of your career. So maybe talk us through that whole experience and time at the club. But also within that time, that's where you got your senior call up for England. So maybe talk us through how that felt and
Yeah.
obviously the experience
So,
of playing for your country.
so when I first came to West Ham, me with my naive self, I'd said some things in the press, and you got to understand. Back then, I was leery. I'm not in the mindset I was. That's why I understand. I understand some of these young boys nowadays. They're a bit leery. You get a bit of money in your pocket. You got the whips. You got the house. You got the girls. You know what I mean. You're cool, man. Yeah? You're just up your own arse at the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Young lads, listen to me, right? Because I've been through it. I've done it. Yeah. So I'm talking from hindsight now. And then obviously you get to a point where um like I said some certain things in the press where I shouldn't have said it, and the West Ham fans read into it. So what I did say, I said, listen, I've come here from Chelsea to West Ham, and I'm trying to get back into the top four clubs. Do you know what I
okay.
mean? So it looked like I was using West Ham as a stepping stone, but I didn't mean it like that. I just wanted big things for my
Yeah,
life, for my career, and at that time I saw West Ham, I was getting booed every time I touched the ball. So I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, I've never had this. I want to go back home. But
yeah,
this time I'm sold. I've got to make this work. Uh, and yeah, so it was eye opening. And then what it was, we didn't have a good season that year. The season after, and then the manager got sacked. It was Alan Pardew at the time. Manager got sacked. Then obviously Alan Curbishley came in, and I hadn't had a good relationship with Alan Curbishley because I'd left Charlton when I was on loan prematurely because I didn't want to stay there. So I already had history with him, and he's a guy that he holds a grudge. So, and he had beef with Scott Parker. He had beef with Paul Konchesky. And this is the Charlton days, and me as well.
okay,
So when he came and met us at West Ham after Alan Pardew got sacked, he wanted to get rid of me straight away and Paul straight away, Conch. And Conch didn't like him. So Conch was like, he couldn't wait to get out because he just couldn't work underneath him. And then like I was getting touted about. I think I was gonna go to Derby or something like that at the time because I wasn't playing regularly either because my head wasn't focused. I just knew this manager didn't like me. I was just all over the gaff. But what I'd done, I'd said, you know what, I'm gonna grind this out. I'm not gonna take the easy route and leave the club. I'm gonna make sure that I just put my head down. And as I said, I had a hidden coach. My uncle was in my ear. Um, the people that actually loved me and checked for me was in my ear, giving me the right advice. And
yeah,
that's where I took it. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna graft here. I'm gonna graft and make it something. And then we had loads of players in front of me. Remember, even Tevez was in front of me at that time. We had who do we had? Dean Ashton. We had Bobby Zamora. We had Marlon Harewood. Mate, there's
you played with some top
Teddy
strikers.
Sheringham. Teddy Sheringham. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't a joke. So I was thinking, bloody hell, how am I going to get in this team? But I grafted and grafted, mate. And then eventually there was an injury to a few players. And then I got in. And that was the time when I knew that I'd do something good in the game because I was ready. Sometimes people, this is what happens when you lose heart and you lose faith and you're never ready. Sometimes you're not ready. You just lose focus and you're not looking about your direction. And because things are not going your way, you kind of like it's normal. You're a human being. You lose track, and when your chance might come in that time when you've just lost track and you're not ready. But I was ready, luckily,
Yeah,
only because my hidden coaches. Do you understand? Because they was in my ear to listen, Carlton. Anytime you get a chance, you've got to make it. You've got to make it work for yourself. So that's what I done, man. And then I just when I got in the team, you couldn't get me out of it, man. I just started to grow and grow, and that's how I got the recognition that I deserved because of the hard work I put in before and the focus I put in.
no, definitely. Yo, boy, you've made over 250 Premier League appearances, and that's within itself. That's no joke. So you
Yeah.
got to be doing a lot right. So So props to you, bro. But
Thanks,
yeah,
bro.
maybe talk to us about England and obviously getting that. Obviously, you represented them
Yeah,
from 19 to 21. So
yeah.
within
So
within itself, that's big. But how
yeah.
did it feel to get the first team call up and maybe make the debut?
Well, yeah, it was amazing, obviously, because you've obviously worked so hard and you're playing well in the Premier League week in, week out, and you're the main man at West Ham now, and like you're thinking, do you know what? I'm actually a good player now, so you start to believe yourself. Then obviously you hear like bits and bobs in the papers first saying, "Oh, Carlton might be looked at for England, the England spot now." And obviously at that time in England, you had loads of players that was probably in front of me. You had Wayne Rooney, obviously. You had Peter Crouch. You had who else did you have there? Emil
Uh,
Heskey.
yeah,
He was like I was vying
Oli.
for his place. Yeah, so there was you had Darren Bent, Defoe. Do you know what I mean? So there's loads of players, quality, high tariff players. And so I was thinking, wow, I'm in the suits with those lot, yeah. So I'm obviously doing something right. So then obviously I got to a point where I thought, you know what, I started to believe in myself a bit more. And then when I got selected, I was like, mate, I can't believe this. I remember I was where was I? I think I was in a hotel somewhere, um, just about to go on a night out. but then I got a phone call I got a phone call from my my physio at the time saying, Cole, you've just been selected. You ain't going nowhere, but you better get wherever you were going that you had in your head, get out of that. You got to come down to the hotel. So then I got the phone. I went into the hotel, and it was the same guy that actually I knew from under 21 days anyway. So he had my number, so we just called it. But I was like, couldn't you lot give me a heads up? You know what I mean? Could have given me a heads up if I was going to be in the England squad, but it is what it is, man. It was such an amazing feeling, obviously, because when you get called up for your country, then you know you're in the elite few.
Yeah,
Like you're one of the best in the country, and you just got to look at it the way, and you got to appreciate it, how much hard work you put in. You know what I mean? So that's where you've got to understand where when you put in so much hard work, and then someone recognizes that, that's the best reward ever, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. And when the country recognizes it, you just can't get any better than that. So it's always a privilege for all the time I was getting picked for my country, and I was in a lot of squads, but I didn't play a lot. But
yeah,
I was in a lot of squads. You know what I mean? I was all in the squads leading up to the Euros, leading up to the World Cup. But I always got injured and got injured at the wrong time for me. So I didn't actually go to a big competition, which I really, really regret.
definitely. But yeah, cool. So West Ham, like we said, you're there for majority of your career. Towards the back end of West Ham, what was the kind of thinking about moving away and trying a new experience? Because obviously you've been there for a long time.
Yeah, like the thing about it, like because obviously I've done so well playing week in week out. I grew an affinity with the fans as well. Like the fans, they can make or break you at a club, and I think the fans, um, they made me. The reason why I say that is because when I first joined, I probably wasn't working as hard as I should have. Do you know what I mean? And West Ham fans are no mugs, mate. Like if you don't if you don't put it in, yeah, look, they love ability, they love all of that stuff, yeah. They love a spontaneous flair player. Everyone does, innit? But the main thing for them is putting your heart on the line and you're sweating and bleeding for the club and running about, making sure that you do the right thing first, which is working hard. And that's what the club's built on. Working class people, they want you to work hard and they want you to do what they would do, at least what they would do. Forget about the ability, but they want you to work hard and work your socks off when you're in the game. And that's what I started to show as I was starting to get more fit, more confident. That was the first thing I thought you have to do to please these fans, and not even just the fans, yourself as well. So you got to work hard. Don't cheat yourself because you know when when you've cheated yourself. Like there's nobody else out there that knows yourself better than yourself. And
Yeah,
if you haven't left everything out there on that field, you know you've cheated yourself. So then by cheating yourself, then you've cheated the fans, you've cheated the club. So that's the way I looked at it. So I was always first and foremost put the work in. Then after that, then all the flair stuff comes in, bang a goal here, there. But you have to put the work in before, and you don't want to be labelled as lazy from an early age.
yeah. But yeah, so like we were saying, towards the back end, leaving West Ham, the thinking behind it, and why you wanted to move on.
Yeah, so obviously it wasn't the fact that I wanted to move on. You get old, don't you? Like, I'd spend just under 9 years, under 10 years at West Ham, and you kind of move on. The club wants to move on. They wanted to bring Andy Carroll in, Andy Carroll at the time to replace me. He was, but I always say that they got rid of me prematurely because what they should have done is to take the pressure off of Andy and have me in the background. You can know, you know what I mean, and just shadow it because I didn't mind playing that role. They obviously spent £17 million on him, and but just in case he did get injured or something, he needed a backup. I'd have been that man. But they didn't want to do that because they thought I don't know why they didn't want to do it at the time. But that's all speculation. But probably they didn't want to do hard do me what I want to say. I don't know. I've got to tread carefully here. The reason why is I still work for him. Do you know what I mean? But I would say they was trying to protect the club interest and trying to protect the money side of things. So they needed to they needed to.
In all honesty, maybe letting you go at that time was probably them trying to just recuperate as much as they could.
Definitely. They wanted to cut the wage bill, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely at that stage. But because I'd done so much up to then, I felt a little bit hard done by. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't hunky dory at the time. But yeah, these things happen, and then you just move on. I had a few offers here and there, but I ended up going to Celtic at the time, and then that's when my nightmare kind of started because I got injured, and I didn't really get going up there, so it wasn't really good for me.
Yeah. So in terms of the back end of your career now, what kind of thoughts? When did you almost know that you was gonna stop playing and retire? When did that?
So after I went to Indonesia, so Michael Essien told me to come out to Indonesia. He says, "Coley, do you wanna come on an adventure?" Obviously, I knew Michael from my Chelsea days, and I heard that he was out in Indonesia. Then he phoned me, goes, "Coley, do you want to come out to Indonesia, mate?" And I'm like, "What? What's it saying?" And he's like, "No, they pay well, and look, there's always sun. It's nice. I like it."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, cool." So I said, "Do they want me?" They go, "Yeah, they want you." So I said, "All right, cool. I'll come over." Bosh, I went over on the plane, and then I signed for him straight away, kind of thing. So I had a really good time at Percy Bandung. It was really eye opening because they do things differently to the European sides, obviously, and I felt the fans were just crazy over there. Like the fans were really passionate. So what you see over here, there's double that over there because all they have is football, and that's all they have, and that's all they love and support. So whenever you go online, you might see you always see Indonesian supporters and fans everywhere, bro. Like they're like the Turkish as well. Turkish are the same. They're like everywhere. They like got a following online. They're strong, mate. They're proper strong. But I had a great time over there, man. It was really good.
Yeah, no, that's sick, man. And yeah, so in terms of let's maybe switch it up a little bit. And what advice would you kind of give to any youngsters that are currently playing, looking for inspiration, a bit of motivation from someone like yourself that, like we said, has been there and done it?
What I would say, listen, as I've said it, I keep on repeating it. Don't cheat yourself, work hard, yeah? Make sure that you listen to your coach. Your coach he's trying to better himself. He's trying to make you a player. But like now I know how hard coaching is. I'm trying to make you a better player, yeah, as a coach. I'm trying my best to make you a better player. I might not be great at it, but I'm trying, yeah?
Yeah.
But what it is, at least I've got your best interest at heart, yeah? You need to work hard first, yeah? The drills will come after that, but your hard work has to happen first. You know what I mean? If you don't have hard work and you don't put your head down and you don't want to learn, then you're fighting a losing battle. And then you're wasting my time as a coach, you're wasting your time as a player. If you don't want to learn, if you think you know it all, you keep on going down that route and see how far that gets you and see what level you go. So working hard, don't cheat yourself. Make sure that you get to a level where You can be respected by your teammates and set an example, man. Set an example to everybody around you, because that's all it is. Hard work. You don't get anywhere without hard work. So always make sure your work ethic is high.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's ask you this one. In terms of growing up, who were kind of your idols on the pitch? Because obviously, when
Yeah, I would say my idols on the pitch. I didn't really have any. I just used to watch everybody, man. Like even when I was playing like in the Premier League, um, obviously because I played a certain way, and Drogba was that certain player that I used to look to because he was like the best of our type.
yeah,
So I used to look at him. I used to think. So even when I was playing, I was even going up against him. I'd always watch his tapes because I want to be that sort of player. So that's where I was watching myself back. I was self-analyzing. I had a sports psychologist. I really invested in myself, and I actually used some of the people that Drogba used as well to get to to that level. So Drogba is definitely up there with one of my idols that I used to think this guy is unbelievable. And he's not even that much older than me. I know he's 40 now. I'm 30, 36, but you still have to have someone that you think that's quality. And I'd say he's my idol from a young age, from when I was at Chelsea, watching him come up through the. So it's just being humble, man, and just knowing your place, man.
no, that's brilliant, man. And yeah, that obviously now I know you're obviously in the coaching game. So how was that sort of transition over from playing to being a coach?
It was hard because I've always got the player head on.
Yeah,
But look, one thing I've got to say, like the kids nowadays, you can't fool them, man. Like if you're not helping them progress to the next level, no matter if your name's Carlton Cole, John Terry, Drogba, if
yeah,
you can't coach them how to get better, yeah, they ain't listening to you. which is like they're no joke. It's not a joke nowadays. And one thing they've got nowadays, they got YouTube. They got other things, vices that they could be coached. When I was younger, we didn't have all of that.
yeah,
I've got an app now that I'm part of, called On the Ball Global, and this is like an app that you can go and see professionals do the drills of what they used to do or what they do from day to day basis. So we didn't have all of these sort of stuff. We didn't have this, and like now it's just easier because you've got so many vices to go to just in case you wanted extra help. And this
yeah.
is what it is, man. So it's the drive has to come from yourself. The drive has to come, and also like obviously it's hard to coach, but I'm learning every day because you've got all of these stuff. I'm going webinars with the FA every day. Do you know what I mean? I'm self improving. When I'm not when I'm not at football, I'm still learning about the game. Do you know what I mean? How to coach people, how to learn about somebody, what makes him tick, what makes that guy tick. So I'm always on it, man.
No, that's brilliant. And
Yeah.
in terms of your coaching career now, what sort of level do you want to go to? Do you want to be a first team manager? Do you want to stay within the youth system that you're currently in, or what's your
I've
behind
just
that?
because it's my first 2 years. It's my first 2 years so far. So I'm not gonna push the boat. I just want to learn as much as possible. Once I've learned and I've gathered all the information I need to be that confident to go out and do what I want to do, then I can start making decisions. Do you know what I mean? Whether I want to go there, or there. Right now, I'm loving the academy stuff. West Ham's giving me a great role with the under-16s. So I'm loving it, and I'm getting to learn about all the players and what they're doing, what makes them tick. So this is good practice. And if in the future I want to go and take someone's first team, I'll do it. Do you know what I mean? But obviously I've got to learn my trade first. And if I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna go in. I'm not gonna go in just to double my foot. I'm actually
Yeah,
gonna be a manager if I want that. So that's why I've got to learn what I've got to learn right now, and then hopefully in the future you never know.
that's brilliant, bro. And in terms of obviously during the pandemic, how have you kind of been keeping in contact with the players that you coach at West Ham and that sort of stuff? Have you been doing like the online Zoom
Yeah,
session?
so we're doing a load of Zoom stuff, Zoom sessions. We do a load of what do you call it? Like analyzing their games, their last games they've played, looking at other players of their ilk or their style, and we just try and compare what you can do when you get back. So just keeping them on the ball and keeping them active, man, and giving them nice little challenges here to do here and there. And that's what it's about, man. You just got to keep on going. It's every day you have to improve. Because if you're not improving, someone else is going to be doing the same thing, well, improving, and that person might take your place in the future. So you better improve as well, pal.
That's big, bro. I think we'll leave it there, man, because that's a
Yeah,
great message to finish off with. But Carlton,
nice one,
thank you
bro.
so much, man, for jumping on and sharing your journey and sharing obviously part of your coaching,
Yeah,
your part of your coaching
no
career.
problem, man.
So,
I hope it was insightful for the listeners to watch and just pick each other's brains, man. Because knowledge is power, man. Knowledge is what life's all about. The more knowledge you've got, the more better you're going to be, and the more information you can take on board, the more intelligent you're going to be in the field of work you want to work in. So just take the knowledge in. Not all knowledge you need. You got to be able to dispose of some, because or else you're going to be like Pinky in the brain, but your brain's going to be massive. You can't take on you can't you can't take on a lot of. You just take out the bits you need to better your life. You know what I mean? So that's all it is.
no, absolutely. Like I said, big thank you, and thank you to everyone that's jumped on and had a listen. So
Yeah, man.
again, hopefully in the near future, obviously I currently work at Fulham, so hopefully I get to cross paths with you and pick your brain a little bit more on the coaching side and get to hear
Yeah,
more
man.
stories. So now, thank you for jumping on, and I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
No
Take care,
worries.
man.